Hey everyone, what's going on? Joey Contino here, and the end of 2022 is right around the corner, and it was such an interesting year. It wasn't a good year, definitely more towards the bad, but it wasn't a COVID year. Look, since 2020, it seems like every year has been kind of downhill. Like it almost seems like 2020 wasn't that bad. But Google at the end of the year always puts together their Google searches and gives us like a list of the top 10 or 5 things that everyone was Googling. Well, I took that data and I kind of broke it down into different categories to see what was trending in the news, movies, celebrities, deaths, so on and so forth. So I figured, let's go ahead and talk about the top 5 things that you guys Googled in 2022. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe, you turn on notifications, and you give this video a thumbs up. Let's get started. So in fashionable ways, I'm not going to start at number 1, I'm going to start with number 5, and I broke these down into really 4 categories. I figured the biggest news stories, the biggest people that was Googled, movies, and passings, because a lot of you guys like to know which celebrities have passed, and some people forget about some of the biggest ones, and so that's actually the category I'm going to go with right now. The one thing you have to keep in mind is that everyone who passed this year is very sudden and really sad. There's some people that passed more recent who maybe won't be on this list, mostly because this is taking account of all the most Google searches. So if someone had died in January, it's probably more searches for them versus if someone who had just died recently. And it's kind of going to go the same way with every category. If something massive happened like this week, you had the FIFA World Cup, that has been the number 1 Google thing for the past month, but because it wasn't something that has taken place long ago and has been having more Google queries, as they call it, it's not going to make the list. Hopefully that makes sense for you. So starting off with passings, number 5, Aaron Carter. He died just recently, and by recently I mean within a month ago, so it's probably why he's at the bottom of the list, but that really is a sad situation. It's still really upsetting to me that he had passed. After that, coming in number 4 is Bob Saget. I forgot Bob Saget passed this year. I thought that was last year. That's how far away this was. Coming in number 3, Anne Heche. That was a very upsetting passing as well. Number 2, Betty White. Did you think she passed last year as well? This year has been insane with passings because especially number 1 is the one that kind of took the cake and kind of like, when it comes to the Google searches, really took over the entire Googling world, I guess you should call it, the Googling world, and that was Queen Elizabeth's passing, which is a world thing, so as you could tell, things that affect the world more kind of make their way to the top of these lists. And so those are your 5 passings, the most 5 Googled passings. Next is movies. Coming in at number 5 is Encanto, which I still have not seen yet. Not because I don't want to see it, I just haven't had time to see this movie yet. Though I have to say, I just saw Avatar last night, and oh my gosh, I know that's not going to be on this list because it was just released, but that's probably going to win every award that's going to be offered to it. Every nomination it's going to get, it's going to win. The real 3D, everything, the music, the soundtrack, the CG, everything. They're going to win it all. James Cameron's going to win it all. Number 4, The Batman. Another movie I haven't seen yet. I don't know what. Our family doesn't really watch superhero movies, so I have to watch it on my own, like secretly somewhere. So that probably explains why I haven't seen that one. Number 3 was surprising to me because I thought that this movie, it broke every box office record, and yet it's kind of low on this list. I kind of expected it to be number 1 or even number 2. But we're talking about Top Gun Maverick. I know, right? You're probably saying the same thing I'm saying, which is like, oh my gosh, how had this not like been talked about more? Number 2, Black Adam. And I don't know if this one being in the searches is a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, I watched it. I'm sure you watch it as well. And with all the crazy DC news that's been coming out for the past week and a half, I don't think this is being Googled for a good thing. I think maybe a lot of people are upset by this movie and are now upset with what's happening with Superman and Wonder Woman. I mean, there's a shake-up there. James Gunn better get his stuff together because I don't know what the future of the DC world's gonna look like. And the number 1 Googled movie, Thor, Love and Thunder. I didn't think it was the best Marvel movie. It was entertaining. The storyline was kind of eh. For it to be the number 1 searched movie, I don't know. I think Top Gun should have been in first place there, but it kind of is what it is. Now we're going into people. Starting off at number 5, Chris Rock. And for those who don't know, we've talked about this extensively. The whole slap between Will Smith and Chris Rock. This guy, all right, Chris Rock has always been famous, always been well known. But even though what happened to him is awful, it should never happen, you should never touch anyone, don't ever hit anyone. This actually probably helped out Chris Rock. He probably got a lot of roles, probably got a lot of things he would never got in if this slap didn't take place. So, number 4 is Putin himself for obvious reasons. He's conquering a country that he should never be doing. And obviously people have been Googling his death, which is not in the top 5 news stories, but we're just gonna leave Putin as P-O-O-T-I-O-N. Number 3, Amber Heard for obvious reasons. She had that lawsuit with Johnny Depp. As you know, she lost, and though right now it's technically still going on. I mean, they're gonna be suing each other for like the next 5-6 years, which is fitting because he takes another spot, but it's not number 2, because number 2 is Will Smith. Will Smith is number 2 for obvious reasons, and not because of his recent movie, because of the slap. I mean, Will Smith actually finally just started coming back out in the public eye. I think he took a good 9 months off of just trying to recenter and regroup. And I think he mostly did it to promote his movie, which didn't do well, not because it wasn't a good movie, it was because of the slap. Once again, it shows you don't touch people. It's not the right thing. And then number 1, just like I was talking about number 3 with Amber Heard, Johnny Depp. And that's because he was being sued and the whole world loves him. And because of his, liberation, he's now getting all these great movies. I heard he's doing another Pirates movie. Though I have to admit, Fantastic Beasts would have been way better if he was still in the movie. So Warner Brothers, you kind of messed that one up. Anyway, this leads us with the last top 5 list, and that is news. Starting off with number 5, which I found interesting, but it's monkeypox. I never Googled monkeypox. I didn't think it was a disease that needed to be Googled. I watched one news story about it on Nightly News, NBC, Lester Holt, and that was about it. I didn't think that we here were Googling that, but turns out that is the 5th most Googled thing news-wise. Number 4, the Powerball numbers, which makes sense because this year we had multiple jackpots that were in the billions. And of course, every week, who didn't win? The first thing you did in the morning was, because a lot of people fall asleep before the drawing, first thing you do when you woke up, you Googled who won the Powerball, or did you win the Powerball? And if you're watching and you won the Powerball, I would like a little bit of money. No, I'm joking. I don't want your money. But yeah, definitely I played. I didn't win anything. Number 3, election results, which I thought maybe would have been higher just because there was a lot of big elections. You look at the France election that took place, Emmanuel, I thought that maybe that was going to get flipped. You had here, we're really primaries and things like that, but you also had really big gubernatorial and senators and so on and so forth. I guess maybe people didn't really want to know that much, but it is still number 3. Number 2 on the list is the Queen Elizabeth passing, which we can all obviously agree upon that everyone either took off from work or woke up early so that they could watch it. It was probably one of the biggest news stories of the year, but not the biggest news story of the year, because the biggest news story, and it's funny because it's just labeled as one thing, but it's really many things under it, and that's Ukraine. And obviously if you watch this channel and you go on my TikTok channel, you would know that obviously involves our life every single day. We're still doing fundraisers through Rosin for Ukraine. We're still donating our time. We're still sending money and things to Ukraine every single week. So if you want to support our channel or support my wife's town in Ukraine, I can give you all the details in the description below. So to have this as number 1 is very appropriate, I believe so. Just to jump back for a second, when it goes back to people, I'm surprised that Zelensky didn't make that top list, because I think that's one person who, Time Magazine, most influential person of 2022, was one person every single person in the entire world now knows, who maybe didn't know who he was a year ago or 2 years ago, or even when he was elected. But it's one of those things that I'm surprised he wasn't on that list. Anyway, that was the top 5 of different categories of the most Googled things here in the US. Let me know, was there something on the list that you thought maybe should have been different? maybe a different news story, maybe a different movie, maybe a different person who passed? Let me know in the comments section, and I want to thank you for joining. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe, turn on notifications, and give this video a thumbs up. I'm Joey. Stay safe and Merry Christmas. See you later. Bye.